To me, improv also feels like a very democratic, very like anyone could do it. Not that everyone is great at it, but anybody could improvise, right? It feels like I did so
Really?
many. I mean, I think
Really?
anyone can. Again, like I say, not everyone's good. But if you try, you could.
Hi, I'm Zach Newmark, and this is Dam Yankee. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts for all the best interviews with the coolest performers based here in Amsterdam and those traveling through the Netherlands, like this woman to my left, your right, Katie Nixon. She is a cast member at Boom Chicago, an improv comedian for a number of years, having been based here in Amsterdam for most of the last 5. It's very, very funny. She's in a number of shows on stage at Boom Chicago, including Laugh Out Proud, the queer comedy fest that she puts on every month in that theater on the Rozengracht. We're super happy to have her. She's from all over the place, including Chicago, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But right now, Katie Nixon, thank you so much for joining.
Yeah,
this is
absolutely.
really lovely. And, I'm, of course, curious as ever how it is that you even made it to Amsterdam in the first place.
Yeah, so you'll have to blame Stacey Smith, who I know you've interviewed. We worked together in Chicago. She produced several shows at the I.O. Theater that were all musical improv shows. Mm-hmm. And we'd had a great working relationship, loved performing with Stacey. And she reached out to me at the end of 2021 asking if I would even consider moving abroad to perform. And I'd heard of Boom before, and I was like working in a restaurant and maybe doing one show a week at the end of the pandemic. And was kind of like, I think I gotta go. And thankfully, my wife also was like, you gotta go. So, and also thankfully, my wife has dual citizenship in Poland. So that made it an easy visa bureaucracy process.
Yeah, right.
So.
Also, the stereotype of a Polish woman in Chicago, love that. But
it goes back generations, yeah.
But Stacey, in this case, who you mentioned,
yes.
For people who don't know, Stacey's been at Boom Chicago for a number of years.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
She is, refresh my memory what her position is, because I think she's the director of
the Academy.
Of the Academy,
and she's kind of interim artistic director right now. I know we're looking for a new artistic director. She's also been on the cast and is just like a powerhouse.
A musical talent, but also, you're quite talented yourself with musical improv as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's where my heart is. I was a musical theater kid growing up and in university. So that's like definitely my niche in the improv world. I love performing music. I love singing. I love all of it. It's just I can live out my Broadway fantasies that have yet to come true. So.
But, you had told me beforehand that you kind of moved around a lot in the States growing up.
Yeah.
But it was, what was the reason for that first?
Yeah, so my dad was in the Army, and he was a band director for the Army, so kind of the least traditional of Army jobs. Yes, this is the reaction I usually get. What? So he and my mom both were music education majors at Ohio State. I have to say, go Buckeyes. And he taught high school band for a few years and didn't really enjoy it. The focus was on football in small town Ohio in the mid 80s, as you might imagine. And he found out he could make more money joining the Army. So that's what he did, and did that for 30 years.
Wow.
So we lived everywhere: Oklahoma, Virginia Beach. We lived in Bavaria, in Germany for 3 years in the 90s. Outside of Washington, D.C., and then Missouri. And then they kept moving after I went to university.
And then, through all of that, you've had this interest in theater and musical theater.
Yeah,
especially.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Where did that develop from?
Oh God! I was in dance class from as young as I can remember. Always doing dance, and I remember my birthday in first grade. My parents bought me like classic movie musicals like Oklahoma and Carousel. I don't know Carousel, South Pacific. All the Hello Dolly, all those kinds of things, and I just loved it. My mom tells the story of watching me watch the Nutcracker when I was a kid, and just like just like enraptured with it. So I just love that things were larger than life, and like the emotions were so big, probably matching like all the big emotions I was feeling inside and didn't know how to communicate, I was like, let's sing and dance about it. So, and thankfully, even though we did move around, I was always at a school with some kind of theater, some kind of band program. So even when we lived in a tiny town in Missouri, when I was in high school, I was still able to do theater, still able to like work on those skills and like indulge in that love.
And then that brought you to the University of Tulsa.
Yeah, so we were living in Missouri. I knew my parents were moving to Fort Hood in Texas after I graduated high school, and they offered me a very large scholarship. So that was a big sell. And they had a small theater program at the time. Unfortunately, it no longer exists. I think the board got taken over by oil company CEOs or something. I don't know. We won't get into that. But it was a really great place, a small theater program. And I still got to get on stage a lot. Got to develop those skills, make a lot of friends, and it was I still got to sing in choir as well at university and keep developing vocal talent that way. It was kind of an odd choice, and Tulsa, Oklahoma is ultimately not where I wanted to live, and that's why I moved to Chicago very soon after college. But it was also there where one of my professors, Lisa Wilson, recommended I go to Chicago, because I had been watching SNL one night with my friends and was like, I'm funny, I can do that, come on. And so she recommended I go take a summer course at the Second City in Chicago, which is exactly what I did before my final year at university.
And so you come to my hometown
yes.
before your final year at university. What was the appeal of Chicago that made you want to stay there? Because you kind of identify that as being the most, the city where you feel the most connection to in context of like a hometown.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
What was that all, what was the appeal for you?
It was definitely like the concentration of comedy theaters, the ability to train, and kind of the community of people there who wanted to do sketch, who wanted to do improv, were making it happen. I saw like the main stage review at the time. I think Katie Rich was in, I remember, and was just enthralled with this. They were smart, they were funny, they were sassy. It was like kind of improvised, or you could tell they were playing with the audience. I was just so enthralled with this style of performance that I knew I wanted to be part of it. It also felt like a more accessible city, finance-wise. I had a cousin living there at the time, and like most of my family, well, not most, some of my family was still being in the Midwest. My grandparents still live in Michigan. It just felt more homey than like New York or LA. Felt like big risk, big change.
Yeah.
So, and thankfully I found amazing people there, found great community there. And unlike the other places I had lived, I really feel like I chose to live in Chicago, and like I chose that place. And felt like I did a lot of, 22 to 32 or whatever it was. That's a lot of formative experiences happening there. Never mind meeting my wife. So, yeah.
Coming into Chicago as an outsider, because this is something that I'm not really totally sure of myself as someone who kind of grew up there. But, why do you think that city embraces improv comedy and comedy in general so much? What is it about Chicago that, that kind of makes it thrive? Because obviously the improv comedy experiment comes and goes in different cities and comes and goes in waves sometime. Yeah. But for Chicago, I mean, Second City's now been there, I want to say 60 years, something like that. Yeah. So what is it about that city that it's...
I think a couple of things. I think, as I know it, like the history or the founding of the Second City really goes back to Viola Spolin, this woman who was a social worker and created some of these theater games to really help kids of different backgrounds. Chicago's a very diverse, still segregated, but very diverse city. And I think there is a hunger for these different communities to come together, to get together. So I think there's that history of it there. It certainly has a longer history than in other cities. I think also just like being such a hardworking city. I know that's kind of the, blue collar.
It's always been, it's the stereotype of Chicago always is that, it's a very hustle nature. It's not a city where just money comes to you or where just kind of like a nice life comes to you. It's a chase culture there, definitely.
Yeah. You got to go after it. So I think that amount of effort requires an equal amount of release, right? And we see that in all the drinking culture, in like the great food culture in Chicago, but certainly also comedy, like talk about a release, right? That's comedy, tension release, tension release. So I think comedy folds into that. To me, improv also feels like a very democratic, very like anyone could do it. Not that everyone is great at it, but anybody could improvise, right? It feels like I did so many. I think anyone can. Again, like I say, not everyone's good. But if you try, you could.
Spoken like a true teacher.
I say, I'm a teacher. I come from a long line of teachers, so I'm going to get anybody to try it. But, there's so many shows like I did just at the back of a bar. Like, we're doing it for the love of the game, for, just wanting to play with our friends in this way. It's very accessible, I think, that way. And honestly, also, I think it's just so goddamn cold in the winter that you need
you need
more
a lot of
to
indoor
go.
things.
Yes. Yeah. So, again, drinking and improv.
Right.
There you go.
And, one makes the other better.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. They
And
feed off each other.
was that something that you've done? Have you done these sort of like drunk comedy shows that they do there?
Mm-hmm, yeah. Not my favorite. Not my favorite. I'm maybe too much of a control freak, which is maybe why I enjoy improv, because it forces me to let go of that control. But yeah, I'm not. For me as a performer, like, I think it's also, we do a shot of improv. That's our like late night drinking show here.
Here at Boom Chicago.
Here at Boom Chicago, yeah. Thanks. And it's always a fun atmosphere. I think sometimes it gets a little out of hand, and maybe that's where my control freak comes in, of like, I still want to control the audience.
Well, what is a shot of improv for
Sure,
people who haven't
yes.
gone to it?
A little context. So it's a short form improv show, high energy, fast paced. It's usually like 10:15 at night, and we give out free shots of Jägermeister for good suggestions. Yes, we finally got a good sponsorship. Yes, yeah, Jägermeister sponsors. I believe. We give out free Jaeger. So
I'm pretty sure Jägermeister sponsored my entire time at university,
Oh, yeah?
but I'm not sure.
You should have we give out these like gold chain necklaces. We should get you one of those. I can really tell that's your vibe.
I'm really excited about that now.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, there's part of me that also is like, oh, stop clutching your pearls. Like, everyone's drinking, everyone's having a good time. That's what really matters. But me as a performer, I don't enjoy like being drunk and performing, or like being intoxicated and performing.
But you worked at, aside from Second City, you also performed at IO, which used to be Improv Olympic.
Yeah.
And the Annoyance Theater in Chicago. But it's the Annoyance Theater also, isn't that where they have a sort of drunk Shakespeare that they do? Is that them, or is that another theater in Chicago?
I think it's at a different theater in Chicago. Yeah. I remember that show. If I believe right, it was like one person in the cast is like supposed to be drunk.
Right.
And they're like improvising or like doing part of Shakespeare. I forget exactly. But I remember seeing the audition call for that and was like, oh, I have to get drunk? Oh, no. Are you going to pay for my like drunk takeout, after that, in my cab home? So I see the appeal, and it certainly, of course, is fun to see people outside of their normal element, or losing some of their inhibitions. But it's personally not my cup of tea.
Okay. But it's in Chicago also, where, the theater here finds several members of their cast and a lot of talented individuals. So you mentioned Stacey already.
Yeah.
Matt Castelvi also comes out of Chicago, was born and raised outside of there. But then you've got another cast member now, Laura Maynard, as well, who also comes out of that environment. Did you work with either of them at that time?
Yeah, I've worked with Matt like 10 years now, we found out, or we thought back. We did a show together called Baby Wants Candy, which is an improvised musical show that's also been running quite a long time. It has different branches.
Really, like even back to when I was living there, I would
think. Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm like, I think it started in the 90s.
Yeah.
So. Which is a super fun, hour-long improvised musical with a full band. So, and I knew right away, like, this guy's super talented and fun to play with. And we always end up in scenes. If Matt and I do a lot of scenes where we're like a fighting couple, I think, which I don't know what that says about our relationship off stage. But he's a lot of fun to play with. And yeah, we also did these shows together with Stacey at I.O. So. It's been really nice, like when I got here, like knowing Stacey and Matt, and kind of also having a bit of that like warm Chicago embrace once I got here made the transition a little easier.
Sure. And Laura also, did you work with her too?
I didn't know Laura.
Because she also does performances in Logan Square, and you were named, I think, the best comedian in that neighborhood. Yeah. I knew. Well, I will say I knew one of the people who wrote on that paper, and I think she pushed my name up at the time. But yeah, I was doing some like solo musical acts at that time, just doing some of my solo songs. So I think a couple people saw me. I did a couple shows in Logan Square. I caught just kind of a hint of self-deprecation there.
Yeah.
Mentioning that. Is that something, is that common for you, or do you have a kind of imposter syndrome about?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
About this?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think especially about stand-up, or anytime someone's like, I'm like, that's more improv. And what am I trying to say here? I think imposter syndrome still lingers, unfortunately. And I think I'm working on it, and I'm recognizing the inner critic voice, and it's turned into therapy. I don't know. I think it's a really interesting thing, because like the highs are really high in the entertainment industry, or like certainly with social media, you see maybe folks you knew in Chicago now on TV shows or doing things you'd like to be doing, and you're kind of like, oh man, but then like forgetting all these other wonderful opportunities I've had, and like how much success I've had otherwise. So that's kind of my work, is to remember and to trust, like I've still been able to like stay true to my voice and like who I am as a performer, and still have all these opportunities, and just got to keep working. So.
I mean, what's some of the work that you saw colleagues of yours get into that made you think, I wonder if moving to Amsterdam was the right way to go?
Instead of moving to Amsterdam, I should have done other things?
Yeah, because you were just saying that you see, work that other people have done, and you go, oh man.
Oh, sure,
I guess the Chicago way would be, geez.
Smart dad. Yeah, I think there's still part of me that would love to work like in film and TV in the United States. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's, I feel a little bit where I'm at right now, of like, I don't think I'm ready to move back to the United States. I guess I wonder then if we'll move back to the United States. I guess there's always going to be a what if with any big decision in life. And certainly moving here, I was all gung-ho. I mean, it's a great opportunity to get to do this full-time. Like, this is my full-time job. That's incredible. And I'm so grateful and so proud of all the work I've put in for that. I guess there's part of me that also wonders, like, what's next? Or, what if I had stayed in Chicago? But then I don't know. I could still be working in a restaurant and doing a couple shows a week, so... I don't have any regrets, and I feel great about the choice to move here. I guess it's still this desire to do something else, or something bigger, something more. And I'm still not sure where that comes from. I think I was thinking like I was in a lot of like talented and gifted classes as a kid, and was always I know that sounds so cheesy, so 90s parenting, like my gifted child, yes. But like, being praised as the smart kid my whole life, and like, you can do anything you want. Maybe some of that is still lingering.
I mean, it's such an American thing too, right? I mean, to that, you can do anything that you want attitude is not something that you often see in other countries.
No.
Well, where, here in the Netherlands, I think there's a weird mix of, respect for ambition and respect for entrepreneurship, or respect for just sort of, blazing your own trail, and a kind of desire or a need to put things in boxes and, to put everything in its place.
Yeah. Yeah. Tallest tulip gets its head cut off.
Right.
Thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So, and I don't know how true it is, like in America, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, or you can do anything. I don't know how true that is, and I'll spare the full anti-capitalist rant here. But, it's like there are barriers to some of these things that me is like a very middle-class upbringing kind of person. I don't have endless wealth to go fund my acting dreams in LA or anything. So gotta, at the end of the day, still pay the bills and hopefully save some money for retirement. Knock on wood. We'll still have a planet in that time. Anyway, sorry, going off on a tangent.
We don't totally go into politics often on this, but I am curious because, you're in the queer community and you're married to a woman.
Joanna's non-binary.
Excuse me. And
that's
so
okay.
Does that also affect, your thinking about whether or not you would ever go back to the U.S.?
For sure, yeah.
It's important to point out it's, the middle of October in 2025. We're two Chicagoans sitting here and, it's a week where there have been immigration raids all over Chicago, border patrol raids in Chicago. And, it's also very close to Logan Square, where we were just talking about as well, Lincoln Square, where I got married. And so, does that impact your way of thinking about going back to the States in general and Chicago specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been a strange experience living here during this second Trump administration. I mean, maybe at any point. But certainly, seeing ICE agents on the streets where I used to walk my dog, and hearing reports of ICE agents in the grocery store in the Jewel I used to shop at in Andersonville. It's scary, and it gives one pause.
The Jewel being a grocery store for
grocery
people
store.
Who don't know, but yeah.
Gotta go to the Jewel. It's certainly something we take under consideration, and certainly, I guess I feel and I see, a move to the right, even here in Europe. I mean, certainly like in Italy, and I know here, with the Farmers Party, I'm not fully up on my European politics, but, you feel this wave of moving to the right. And certainly we think about that, moving back to the United States. We certainly think we'd move to a community that's, welcoming of who we are as people, as queer folks. And But we definitely consider it. It's in consideration, or definitely at this moment, like a factor to not move so quickly. It feels like the threat is real. I mean, seeing those reports of like countries in Europe sending out warnings to trans people to not come to the United States. That's like a real credible threat that, Joanna and I think about when we have these big discussions. And when we don't, I don't know the right move, I guess. And that feels really hard right now for me.
Did you ever have conversations with your family back home about these sorts of things now that they're going on and they're there and you're here?
Sure, yeah. I mean, my mom even is like, well, we don't know if you'll ever move back. Or she used to say when you move back. Now she says if you move back, right? So I certainly would like to be closer to my family, certainly parents getting older, grandparents getting older. Still have grandparents alive, thankfully. And like my parents live outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, in South Carolina, but close to North Carolina.
In the Carolinas.
As do my brother and sister-in-law. So we're always talking with them, and I know they try to find pockets of like-minded people. They are also on the left side of things. But I know it's also tricky for them living in red states, right? And trying to make connections with people, human to human.
Yeah.
My brother is just like constantly trying to talk to his friends of like, why did you vote for this guy? Like, what's going on? Try to understand. But it's so tricky and just feels so almost inhuman, or like, I just sometimes have a hard time wrapping my head around that it is happening, and I do believe it and see that. And I think that's step one. Like, we have to, can't do, oh my God, how can this be happening? Like, no, it's happening. Like, it is happening. Like, what do we do now? And that's where I feel a bit at a loss, or I feel a bit ineffective here. So
does this come out in your comedy?
Sure.
Or come out on stage somehow?
Sure. In our show at Boom, The Good, the Bad, and the Algorithm, I've written this song called Doom Scroll. And it's all about how I get sucked into all the bad news, all the sad stories. I doom scroll, right? And I'm sure all the content I'm fed has a more leftist, anti-Trump bent, of course. Here we are. But I really found myself for the last 2 years, like, it really, like, all these things you hear about, like my shoulders are tense and my body's tense, and I'm just like sucked into it, and suddenly 20 minutes are gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what have I actually done? I feel educated, but I'm miserable, right? Like, what can I actually do? How can I turn this into action? So the song, the chorus is just that: doom scroll, I've become my own troll, right?
Right.
And I scream about billionaires ruining the planet, and I scream about Donald Trump being a pedophile and all these things. And it feels good. It feels good to release, again, here's tension released, right? And it also feels nice to give the audience an opportunity to like shout and clap and cheer, or it's mostly that. I don't know. Maybe there's some silent grumpies in the back, but I don't know if you'd come to a comedy show in Amsterdam and be a Republican. I don't know.
Or maybe you wouldn't know the difference between silent and grumpy and a great Dutch audience.
Very true. Very true. This is a fine line. This is a fine line. Some nights you go, oh no, they like it.
Yeah.
They just, yes. So I appreciate that, like, release valve in this song, and like having that platform to yell about these things, as I call it. It doesn't always feel super funny, but then I remember like comedians I love who just have strong points of view and are not always like, not everything is gonna have a huge laugh. Sometimes it's making a larger point, part of a bigger laugh, but making a point. So.
Is it hard to, because really you're kind of in 5 shows right now, right?
Yeah.
Aside from the showcase that you put on for the queer community, and aside from the show that you just mentioned, you have a shot of improv, which we were talking about, and 2 other things that you do kind of regularly. So I'm wondering, with that sort of serious nature of all the politics that's going on over there, also here in Amsterdam and here in the Netherlands as well, how do you and your colleagues protect the comedy and prevent it from becoming just all political all the time? I mean, how do you actually do these shows and keep them from becoming a way of indulging in the miserable, and being more just a way of enjoying yourself more?
Yeah, I mean, I think we take, especially our improv spectacular shows that are just improv, not just, but purely improv. I know before the shows, we all connect as performers beforehand, and if there has been some big news story, we'll talk about that, just to kind of get it out of the way. But I think I take seriously my job also to like provide entertainment and to provide that release, again, in like a pure laughter kind of way, right? And I think also the beauty of the improv we do, we get a lot of suggestions. We get a lot of audience input throughout the show. So if someone does shout out Gaza or Epstein or whatever, we can choose to take it and play with it or not. And sometimes we do take it. It's fun to, get our point of view out that way and acknowledge it. But sometimes we can shut it down and say, hey, we're all here having a good time. Let's keep having a good time. Let's not put a damper on it. So I never want to shy away from tricky subjects, or I think, of course, there are some things I personally don't want to do comedy about. But if someone shouts out something, we want to at least acknowledge it, right? And either say, yeah, cool, we'll try it out, or not tonight. So I think overall, though, there's a spirit of we have so much fun playing together on stage with each other and just being goofy, just being goofballs. And a lot of that content doesn't have to be political. It's like we're in a bowling alley, right? Or we're 2 dragon hunters. We go into the fantasy realm where we play into genre styles. So there's really, in the pure improv shows, there's not always a whole lot of political content. It's usually maybe like a moment or two of like a strong point of view, and then we move on. Or like someone does a Trump impression for one scene, and then we move on.
Right. So now you're 4 years at Boom Chicago. You know, how have things developed for you in those 4 years? How has your performing developed during that time?
Yeah, it was a big adjustment at first, of course, I think, because it also pointed out to me how reliant I was on like local references, right? Making jokes about Lori Lightfoot, then the mayor
of Chicago. Yeah, the former mayor of Chicago. Yeah,
you know, referencing every neighborhood joint and everything, and coming here and like, oh, none of that works. None of that works. So I need to make things a little more accessible, a little more universal, maybe. And I remember I got a note the first week I performed here. I was in a grocery store, and I referenced the vegetable rutabagas. And I got a note to not say rutabaga, because not enough people know what a rutabaga is. Which I was like, okay. I just thought it was a funny word for a vegetable. But little things like that I now take into account. I think I also educated myself a lot on Dutch. Obviously, I've lived here now, so I know a lot more about Dutch life, Dutch place names. When I ask someone where they're from and they say Hoorn, now I can make a joke about Hoorn or whatever.
Right.
And I think I've become more confident. I think just really having so many shows per week. I tallied them up last year, and it was something like 350 performances. Something like that. So I think just, the muscles of, knowing my voice, certainly hosting. I've gotten better at hosting. And I think also in a way, become more like physical and comfortable on stage. I'm probably, as you could tell, very like brainy, nerdy person. So I've been really inspired by the newest castmates who have joined us, but also some past castmates, Deshawn and Raquel, Louis. These folks are all very even Laura and Meg are all very physical performers, so I'm very inspired to kind of catch up with them.
Is the physical comedy, is that something that's really important at Boom Chicago, considering, you have a large number of people that come and see your shows where English is not their first language, and as I've talked with other colleagues of yours, may not even be their second or third language. So does the physical comedy and the musical comedy serve almost as a bridge to get closer to those?
I think so. I think that's a good point. I don't know that I've put it together that way before, but I think so. Because I've also, heard that feedback from folks of like, I didn't understand everything, but I loved your energy. Like, that's a great compliment we get, right? And just to remember that, like, we're always communicating when we're on stage, whether we know it or not just with our words, but with our bodies. And certainly the music, too, I think. Talk about, like, carrying emotion, carrying energy and power. I think, those are critical tools and always super successful with the crowd when we move into that realm. So
was Boom Chicago, was that the first fully professional? Is that when you stopped any other work that you were doing and basically became full-time as a comedian?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd had a slew of other jobs in Chicago. I had a brief stint of dog walking and just improvising, which is a classic.
Simultaneously? Or?
I wish. Oh my God. I had a friend I used to perform with. He did do an improv show with a dog once, just him and a dog. It was weird.
Yeah.
But this is the first time I've been a full-time performer, teacher.
Worst job? What's your worst job that you ever had?
Gosh. I mean, the dog walking was pretty bad. I got bit by a dog. That was the worst of it.
It sounds like you had one bad dog.
Yeah, that's true. That was just
or is
it? They're all bad. If there's one bad, they're all bad. No, one rotten apple. No. I worked at a cafe for just a few months, and I probably bit off more than I could chew with this job, because I ended up getting an inflamed gallbladder and having to quit because I had to go get my gallbladder removed. But this job was just a little over my head. Like, I was hired on as a manager, and I was not ready for that. There were too many changes that needed to happen at the place, and just wasn't a great experience. I
Yeah.
know that's very vague, but very long hours, obviously, working at a cafe. We didn't have a dishwashing machine. All of the dishes had to be washed by hand. With a kitchen of like 3 or 4 people. Like we made homemade food. In-house food, homemade food. We made everything fresh in-house. So like the food was, nice and really high quality stuff, but it was no good for me.
Is that, because also your theater degree was theater and theater management, right?
Yeah, it was arts management and a
So
minor in musical theater.
Is maybe, are you maybe not so thrilled with the managing in general?
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement.
Yeah.
And like this degree, arts management, so it was focused on like nonprofit arts management, and I quickly learned through those courses that a lot of that job is raising money and asking people for money.
Right.
And I also just realized I wanted to be on stage. This was a bit of a compromise with my parents. I think my parents were driving me towards, and I appreciate that now, like get a practical degree. You're going to need a job the rest of your life. So this was kind of a compromise here. So like I worked in the front of house at Chicago Shakespeare Theater for several years, doing a variety of tasks. But yeah, I think I figured out, I want to be a performer. And I don't think I had the gumption or the like certainty of it at 18 when I picked that degree. And I'm also stubborn and didn't choose to change majors at any point.
Yeah, it's interesting because also sometimes when people who want to perform make that compromise and go and study something, like you said, more practical, a lot of times that's it. They never go back to the performing part because they've already, in a way, admitted to themselves that I need a backup plan.
Yeah.
And some of the best performers are those who never have that backup plan. They go out there and it's kind of, failure is not an option, or if I fail, I'll sort it out later.
Yeah.
So how was it for you that you were able to kind of, get to that point in your head where being a professional performer was something that you could actually continue pursuing or working towards?
I really don't know if it was until I got this job offer. Certainly in Chicago, the landscape seemed to be that I would have to continue having at least part-time employment to keep the career going, unless I got hired, full-time by Second City or one of those larger theaters. So I was working an office job for 4 years, and I was an office manager. I was getting paid a pretty decent salary, and had my own apartment, was feeling really adult, really accomplished, but was still doing tons of shows, like almost every night, rehearsal or a show. But still, making maybe $50 a show, not a whole lot of money in improv. So, and a lot of people.
You mean per night?
Mm-hmm,
Yeah. Okay.
And that would be maybe one show a week.
Right.
Or like we're organizing our independent sketch shows, so we're renting out the theater and having to sell our own tickets and like.
And then maybe there's like $100 left over at the end of the night.
And then we go.
Yeah.
Drink beer and eat pizza. So yeah. So excuse me. And certainly that's I think if I had a more was more fulfilled by that career, by that day job, then that could have been a sustainable path, a sustainable thing. But it just wasn't for me. I just felt, kind of every cliche, like this feels like it's not real me. It's not, it's sucking my soul out. It's providing me. I know that's very dramatic. I'm very dramatic about these things. It was fine. I was dramatic. Excuse me. Sorry. I'll get
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I also knew at that point, well, I had also started going to therapy, and I knew I had to put my trust in myself, right? Mm-hmm. No one's going to ask me to do this. No one's going to tell me I have to do this. So if I want to pursue this full time, if I want to make a go out of it, which I felt like I would always live with regret if I didn't at least give it a chance, that's kind of when I quit the corporate job. I also had a meeting with my boss corporate. It was like anyway, whatever. Quit the office job. I had a meeting with my boss, and she started asking me about career development. And I was just like, I like broke down in tears. I'm like, I don't want to develop in this career anymore. I don't want to be an office manager. I don't care about any of this. I was like, okay, this is a clear sign. This is a clear sign. So I think I was like 27 or 28 at the time.
So, and just for context, that's like 10 years ago.
So that was like 2018.
Yeah.
I think when I left that job. Yeah. So 7-8 years ago. Yeah. Almost 10 years. Yeah. And, this is when I started walking dogs and trying to do more auditions and get more gigs, and then eventually started working another part-time gig, and still same thing. Then COVID happens. Mm-hmm. Then part of me for a while during COVID was like, well, I guess I'm just never gonna perform again. I think I felt a bit defeated and kind of threw my energy into like the culinary world. Like I actually went to culinary school during the pandemic, which I don't know was the smartest choice, but that's my other big passion in life. So why not? That's when I worked in the kitchen for a little bit, and then I got the call to come here. So yeah, I think it's once I got that call Facebook message to come here was like, oh, this could be like a full-time gig. Wow. So,
I mean, that's pretty that's pretty incredible, because what is it that happened in therapy that gave you that kind of realization, or at least that either you hit a breaking point when you were speaking to your HR rep, or you had the realization first and then it just kind of all came tumbling out of you. So what was it that happened either in therapy or in that job that made you sort of realize, okay, I cannot be in an office anymore?
Yeah, I think I'd been working a lot with like this idea that I had been making choices and decisions to please others and not for like my own fulfillment, right? Mm-hmm. I think, of course, yes, I wanted a well-paying job, but I think I also took that office job to be like, hey, world, hey, parents, I'm a real adult now. I can get a full-time job, right? Don't worry about me. So call that people-pleasing. I think I also had come out just like a year prior. I came out in my mid to late 20s, and I think just fully pulling off.
You mean to everybody, or just to your family at that point?
To myself, and I didn't. I came out to my family a couple months before that breaking point.
Wow.
At the office job. So to friends, I'd come out sooner, but also to myself. I think it was just a big moment over a year or two of self-realization, self-acceptance. And further accepting that, no, I really am passionate about this thing and not office management or not anything else. And I know that's might sound a bit dramatic, but it just, it felt like one more thing I was faking, or one more thing I was kind of not acknowledging.
I don't know if dramatic's the right word, because it sounds like it was a period of, 1 or 2 years where a lot of very significant things happened. So I don't know if dramatic's really the right word.
Okay,
right?
Maybe that's my own judgment on it. So, yeah, it was just a lot of big changes, and maybe I'll blame the election of Donald Trump in 2016. I tell this story of classic liberals in Chicago. We went to a bar to watch the results in 2016, and it was clear what was happening. And then we went to a friend's apartment who lived in a high-rise on the lake, and coming down, I got trapped in the elevator. It was only stuck for a couple seconds, but still, I was stuck in an elevator with a bunch of straight men, no offense. And I was just like, what am I doing here? No, if Donald Trump could be president, I can come out. And I hulked out,
Right. Yeah.
No, but it was true to a certain degree, that thought of well, if this can happen, fuck it, man.
Yeah.
So.
And the Cubs had won the World Series.
True, that's true. All in the same year. All in the same year.
But what point was it that you met your wife then?
So we met in the fall of 2017. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, we met on Bumble, classic dating app. And we were both at similar points in our coming out journey. Like we had both, and Joanna's about 2 years younger than me. And we just like instantly connected. It's kind of a cliche in the queer world, like lesbians U-hauling. We moved in together 6 months later, and have just been together ever since. So it's been so like surprise of my life and joy of my life to meet this person and to also continue with Joanna on the rest of their coming out journey. And I could go on.
Did Joanna have some responsibility in pushing and nudging you more towards doing more performing?
Yeah, I think so. Because Joanna also had kind of left a corporate job and decided to become a yoga teacher and kind of figure out their own path in life and not like fit in this cookie cutter box. Good school, good job. La la la. So I think, I think they were somewhat of an inspiration. They also gave me the confidence of like, we can figure this out. Mm-hmm. I think in our relationship, I am the more, sometimes, not always, sometimes the more motivated by fear person, and Joanna is the more motivated by let's go, let's try it, the optimistic maybe. So it depends on the day though. So.
I mean, these things that you're describing, the long time interest in theater, the long time interest in comedy, but also some of these personality traits that you talk about, is that something that your family recognized in you, or is that something that, like, did they think that you were the funny one? Would they say that you were the dramatic one? Would they say you're the self-deprecating one? How is it that your parents and your brother would describe you?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think in a way we're all the funny one in a different way in our family. But definitely smart, funny. Probably dramatic or emotional. I would be described. I was just talking to my mom about this the other day. My lifelong journey to like fully express my emotions. But yeah, definitely, smart, funny. Always singing and dancing around the house. Mom always had me in dance class and all that kind of stuff. My brother also was a musician and studied like digital animation in college. It's just like a long history of artistic pursuit in my family overall, I'd say. Like there's photos of my dad playing with my great-grandfather, playing music with my great-grandfather. My aunt is a pianist, accompanist for like a community college and local theater groups. My uncle did medical illustrations and still draws. My mom's dad was a high school art teacher. So there's just like a whole community.
But what's your uncle drawing? I mean, like he still draws, but it's all the inside of penises.
Strangely enough, he does medical illustrations. He became a lawyer later, and now he sometimes does like illustrations to help court cases. So maybe if someone got their penis jammed in a door,
it's totally possible. Yeah. Was there any shock or surprise or difficulty to come to terms when you came out to your family?
I think there was a bit of grief, I think, from my mom. And like, I acknowledge that, right? I think I even have a bit of grief around it, right? There's, you probably, I don't have kids, so I don't know for sure, but I imagine you have an idealized version of their future or like what you imagine their life might be. And this totally changed that. Mm-hmm. I dated men in the past, so I think, that probably totally changed things for her. Excuse me. For both my parents, I'm sure. But they have been nothing but supportive and loving, and they're coming for Christmas this year. So Joanna is totally integrated into our family, and I feel super supported by them. But I think with any big change, or even like the decision to move to Amsterdam, right? There's always some kind of friction, or like, are you sure about that?
Right.
Which of course I want to give that space, and but yeah, I think at first, I remember I told my mom on Christmas Eve, we're like sitting around the tree, and she just starts crying, and I'm like, oh no, I've ruined Christmas. Oh no. But it was okay.
It all recovered.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you still stay in touch with any of the men that you used to date?
No.
No.
No. I think I'm social media friends with some of them, but we haven't chatted anytime. Yeah.
Okay. So no awkward.
No. There was one interesting interaction in a grocery store in Chicago before I moved here, but no.
And then, you're getting more and more into performing in Chicago, and you're doing more of that, and, you're encountering all of these kind of amazing people and very talented people as well. How is it that you were able to start spending more time doing that, after you left the office job and you're taking these sort of like part-time gig jobs? What was it about your work in Chicago that made you somebody that was appealing for others to work with, that got you, on stage more frequently?
Yeah, I think a combination of things. I think I always strive to be professional, show up on time, be prepared, all that good stuff. I think I also feel like I surrounded myself with really good people, or I chose to work with people that I was also like connected with on a human to human level. Like I did several sketch shows with my very good friend Molly Rayner and Di Billick. We started in this other sketch group, and then we just enjoyed each other's company so much, and we're like super good friends. So that drive, right? That like connection through the art, through what we're doing. I think also just, you do more shows, more people see you perform, networking, you hang out at the bar afterwards. And certainly I think, Stacey hiring me on for these shows at I.O. Opened me up to the audience at I.O., whole slightly different crowd than at some of the other theaters I've been at.
For, people who don't know, also a different style of improv comedy that they do at I.O. I mean, they work a long time with the Herald method.
Long
so
form,
it's more long form and storytelling forms of improv comedy compared to, like, say, Second City, which is a bit different.
Yeah, Second City more focused on, sketch comedy, topical things, using improv to create sketch comedy. So, so I think just like being out in the community, going out for auditions, submitting to agents, just trying to be like a really active member of the community. And certainly I think, those shows at I.O. and Baby Wants Candy were kind of like marquee names in town, not at like the main stage Second City level, but certainly shows even non-improv nerds would come to see. So.
When Stacey got in contact with you, she had only been out in Amsterdam, I think, for 2 years or 3 years at that point. Was there kind of a disbelief for you, or did you have a moment, or were you feeling deserving of the opportunity?
I think it was disbelief just because I hadn't heard from her in a minute, and had also kind of been diving into the culinary world, and was just like, oh, this is a possibility now. I felt good about it. I felt deserving and like up to the challenge. Like I felt like I'd put in the sweat hours. I don't know if it was 10,000 hours yet, but put in the time, and trusting in my talent and ability to do this job. So I was excited. I was thrilled. I'd not been to Boom before, but had certainly heard about it and knew some folks who had been here before.
Had you been to Amsterdam before?
When we lived in Germany when I was a kid, like in 1997, we came for a Christmas. Yeah.
So you hadn't been in Amsterdam in over 20 years.
Not since I was an adult, though. No.
And had Joanna been here before, your wife?
I believe so. Just once, coming through on some other European trip. I'm sure. Yeah.
But neither of you had spent time here,
not together,
really, and
no.
and not together.
Yeah.
So where do you find that sort of courage to make the leap and take the job?
Yeah, maybe that's again just my stubbornness and courage, or just like knowing this opportunity was so good, and like so exciting, and certainly after having a couple years of not performing a lot with the pandemic. Also having been in Chicago 10 years and maybe ready for a change, as hard as it was to leave my community there, it just felt like a risk worth taking. And maybe I'm a little naive, and maybe I should have done more research on the Belastingdienst.
And the tax office, yeah.
Yeah, the taxes before I moved here. But, live and learn.
Yeah, we actually have taxes that pay for infrastructure here. It's amazing.
It's great. That's what I tell people. I'm like, it's higher, but like you see it. You see the effects.
What was the sort of initial culture shock that the two of you had when you moved here, that you had? Did you experience something?
Yeah, so initially I came here on my own because Joanna was finishing a master's degree at Chicago. So we had a bit of long distance for the first 2 years I was here. So initially it was just getting used to, honestly, it felt more like the shock of getting used to full-time performer schedule, of like being on 5 nights a week, sometimes 6, plus teaching, plus all the other things we need to do. That was the biggest change for me. I think also the size of the city. Chicago, as you know, is so big. So long,
right?
I would ride the L an hour downtown from where I lived way up north, and people here are like shocked.
Yeah.
Or like my 20-minute cycle now is considered long, which I'm like, it's what? No, it's fine. So I think also
and actually that's the moment that you know that you've been living here for a longer period of time, is when you start looking at that 15-minute bike ride as being like, yeah, I don't know if I really want to go anymore.
Exactly.
15 to 20 minutes is kind of really, that's pushing the limit.
Yeah. We're pushing it. Yeah. I think I've hit that marker now. So that was the biggest thing. I think just all the like day-to-day stuff, right? Like moving my banking over and figuring out and learning enough Dutch to get through the grocery store, which I feel very grateful. I learned German as a kid, and plus English. I feel like I can usually make it work.
Slaughter your way through.
Yeah. So,
did you see that study that won an Ig Nobel Award that it was just sort of in the news 2-3 weeks ago, maybe, that Germans who get drunk speak Dutch more comprehensibly than Germans who try to speak Dutch sober.
I believe it. I mean, yeah, that makes sense to me. Like you've gotten rid of your first social filter, right?
Right.
Like just let it flow. Just let it flow. No holding back. My dad tells a story when we lived in Germany. He went and played some international band show, something, and like they were sharing a bus with a Polish band. And like the Polish guys didn't speak English, and the English guys, the American guys didn't speak Polish, but they all started drinking, and then suddenly everybody was friends.
Right.
Like we all speak beer. It's all good. So, yeah, I believe it.
Did you? So you experienced, sort of like normal culture shock when you come here, but what was the? Did you have to start, taking a different approach on stage, as other than using different words than rutabaga?
Yeah, for
and,
sure.
And different, different local references. But,
yeah.
Other than that, I mean, the way that you perform and, the way that the audiences are here, did that also kind of, drive any, emotions?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I think as you already referenced, like, Chicago crowd is going to be loud and rowdy and like here to give you your applause, and you got to work for it a little harder here. Or like, I find European audiences, I don't know if it's Dutch specifically, but European audiences tend to be a bit more reserved, and like we almost, we have to teach them, this is when you can cheer. This is when you can shout out suggestions. You can laugh loudly. It's okay. So in a way, the way we do introductions at Boom very much is like teaching folks, hey, you can be loud here. It's okay. You can cheer. You can applaud. We need it because like we rely on that feedback also, like as we're performing, to see what's working. So I think the Boom style is also very high energy. And I as a person, and my onstage persona is still fairly kind, inclusive, wanting everyone to feel good. So I've also gotten notes like, hey, you can be meaner. Hey, you can be more pointed. You can like really give it to that guy who shouted dildo at you or whatever. And I'm like, but come on. And so I've also thickened
but my
the
uncle
skin
used to draw them.
I know. Come on. bad, but they're so good. But yeah, so I guess like a little, sharper, a little maybe thicker skin is not quite the right phrase, but yeah, a little easier to be a little on the attack if necessary. Not always, but that's been the biggest change, I think, of like really paying attention to the crowd and like being there with them.
And then, Boom just had their recent anniversary show. Did you get to and their comedy festival? Did you get to perform with any bigger names? Boom's got a lot of bigger names that have come through over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was on stage with Amber Ruffin, Heather Ann Campbell, who's a writer on Rick and Morty, amongst other things. Did some scenes with Brendan Hunt, who's been on Ted Lasso, amongst other things. We did a show with, not at the festival, but another time with Jason Sudeikis. I was on stage with Seth Meyers. I didn't do any performing with Seth Meyers. I was on the same stage. So yeah, super cool experiences. But also nice to ultimately just be like, oh yeah, we're just all comedians doing the show together. Or I wasn't like, only a little bit was I like fangirling out. Was able to keep it contained. So yeah, it's a really cool, I don't know, I was going to say fraternity. I don't know if that's the right word. It's a cool club.
Is it being on stage with them? Does that also drive a little bit of your sort of what's next feeling?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. Starting to think about, certainly I can't follow anyone else's path, but yeah, you look at those stories or see what folks have done after Boom and think about what else might be in store for me. So,
Is there a dream role?
A dream role?
Or a dream job or a dream, show?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge fan of late night talk shows. I know maybe the future is uncertain for many of those hosts.
Yeah.
But would love to write or maybe even host a show like that in the future. Would love to be on a sitcom, just like I grew up watching, every kind of rerun of sitcom, and The Nanny and Frasier and like, of course, The Office and Parks and Rec and all those things. So would love to work on like a consistent character, a consistent environment, funny environment.
Who were kind of your comedy heroes then growing up?
Gosh, so much SNL, and I went through like a big Monty Python phase in high school. I was one of those people quoting things all the time. But certainly like the era of SNL with Tina Fey and Amy Poehler and Maya Rudolph, Rachel Dratch, all those women were super influential. But also more and more I'm remembering like musical comedy, right? Like Weird Al. Even like musical theater. Like I used to listen to cast albums, or I still do. I say used to. Listening to cast albums all the time. The producers and Mel Brooks, all those kinds of things.
Which producer's album? The original 1960s soundtrack, or the Nathan Lane,
Definitely
Matthew Broderick
Nathan Lane,
later
Matthew
one?
Broderick. Yeah. My friends used to make fun of me because I made them watch the movie version of it. And they were like, "This is so bad." And I'm like, "Oh, but it's all the only thing we have in Missouri. We're in high school. Come on."
Wait, they made you? They complained about the original, the
No,
producers,
the
the remake
of
of
the
it.
musical
Oh,
version.
okay, all right.
with,
Because the original movie is one of the best. I mean, for me, it's one of the best comedy movies of all time.
Oh yeah, it's a classic, undoubtedly. Yeah. I also
was about to get into a fight with your
your
friends.
I agree. Yeah. I was also, where did my brain go?
Comedy heroes.
Comedy heroes, yes. I was thinking about the Beatles, gosh. Like A Hard Day's Night, or like, that's what I was saying. Again, talk about nerd. Like, I got really into Gilbert and Sullivan in high school, which are like Victorian operettas.
Right.
But like the lyrics, like the jokes in the lyrics, which I had to sometimes do research on, are so impeccable. Even if they're so antiquated at this point, or things like Anything Goes, Cole Porter and Noel Coward, and real nerd stuff. I would just go sit in the library reading lyrics.
Have you met any of your comedy heroes?
gosh.
Or theatrical heroes, because you're naming all of these like names who are just like run such a gambit of.
Yeah. I don't know that I actually have like any of those like folks like I would really put on a tier. Like I know Maria Bamford came through Boom a few years ago, and I really love her stand up and just her ability to talk about mental health and everything she goes through. But it didn't feel like the right person to do a meet and greet moment with. And I'm also, I'm a bit shy about that because I don't know. Here's again, another introverted performer who's like, I don't want to bother you. I don't want to bother you. So yeah.
Are you the introverted performer at parties? So are you the quiet one at a party, or does the sort of performer side of you come out?
It depends on the part. Usually I probably defer to quiet or like one-on-one conversations, small groups. But certainly like if the moment calls for it, I'll perform. Like my grandparents had a 50th wedding anniversary party, and I was probably 10 years old. But I just got bored in the middle of dinner. And my aunt's house has this staircase leading down to the dining room. And so in the middle of, we're finishing dinner. The adults are talking. I'm bored. I go upstairs and I'm like, I'm going to put on a show. We're going to do a show. And at the time I was obsessed with James Bond theme songs. So it's like, we're just getting the full nerd deep dive here. So I came down the stairs singing Goldfinger in the style of Shirley Bassey. And then proceeded, I must have just improvised a game show. I was like selling produce to my family members from my aunt's kitchen and just did this full like 10-minute show.
Total introvert.
Yeah, total.
We've talked about culture clash. We've talked about, audiences here versus audiences in Chicago. But what about, sort of personal relationships and friendships here?
Yeah. It was tough at the beginning. I think also along like the adjustment to the performer schedule, we're working when most people are out socializing, right? So a lot of my friends have come from relationships at Boom, either former students, castmates, just folks who come see shows a lot and we hang out at the bar. So I think most of my close friends here have come through some connection at Boom. But those people are very valuable, of course. And we talk about like, all right, we're not going to talk about work now. Especially when we meet up as castmates. It's like, let's not talk about work. We're going to talk about, maybe we'll still talk about comedy. But
what about your wife's friendships? I mean, are her friends your friends, or, does she make friends outside, in her work life here?
Yeah, so Joanna moved here full-time last July, so has only been here about a year. So still growing, Joanna's still growing their network of friends all over the city. So they have a few friends of their own, but like I know some friends Joanna's made, they just moved to Brussels for a job. So that is, of course, the other expat struggle of folks moving away.
Right, yeah.
Coming and going. So, but we have a lot of friends in common and a lot of friends. We've made friends with our old neighbors, though. That's been really nice. Even though we moved apartments, like we're still friends with them.
Are they Dutch?
No, they're Turkish.
Okay, so have you made connections or friendships with any sort of Dutch people, local people born and raised in Amsterdam? Maybe your Turkish neighbors or friends there. Maybe they were.
Yeah, a few local folks or a few Dutch folks, which is super handy. For me, they send me Dutch memes. My friend Emil, who's our technician at Boom, he's Dutch, but he's like sending me Dutch memes, right? Or like, here's this old Dutch commercial you should know from the 90s, because all the 90s kids knew it, things like that. But I do see, that there's this kind of stereotype around like, circles are hard to infiltrate. Dutch social circles are hard to infiltrate, and part of me gets that. I mean, I'm still learning Dutch, and or part of me still feels odd having everyone switch to English if I'm in a room with mostly Dutch folks. But it has been nice getting a real local insider touch to things.
Isn't it funny that it's these old television commercials? Usually the horrible ones are ones that we all kind of bond over where we come from, right?
Absolutely.
I just saw Hannibal Buress, the Chicago comedian, was on a radio show in Atlanta recently, and I saw him post to his Instagram. He's actually here in Rotterdam this week. And he posted to his Instagram an old Chicago grocery store commercial that they talked about on this radio show called Moo and Oink, which might even predate your time in Chicago, and just how terrible this commercial was. And they had their own jingle, and it's just horrible. My wife thinks that, the old auto part junkyard commercials are the funniest commercials from Chicago, but she's from here. And, you get these people with these just thick, horrible Chicago accents doing, these commercials about, like windows and aluminum siding and they're just fantastic. And what is it about, the commercials that are something that we all bond over?
I think it's like those commercials specifically, I think is like the earnestness of it, of like, this is just this guy's job, and he knows he has to make a commercial for WGN in order to so he's like, here's my aluminum siding business. Come on down, see the Jakowskis or whatever, Also, gotcha. The regional specificity of that too, I think, tickles my brain. Or when I'm down visiting my brother and parents in South Carolina, just I crack up every time I turn on the local TV. It's just hearing those accents again.
What was the local commercial that your friend Emil sent you?
Oh gosh, so it was for a service to teach you English, and it was a Dutch family and of course tiny little car, and they turn the radio on, and it uses a curse word, but the song was in English, and it said, "I want to F you in the ass," but using the full fuck. I want to fuck you in the ass. And the dad starts bopping along, and the mom starts bopping along, and the kids and then they all start singing along. Something about fucking in the ass. And then the tag at the end is like, make sure you learn English from the experts or something.
I mean, it's a classic.
It's great.
It's a great, what a great selling point.
So simple, so clear.
The other thing I wanted to ask you earlier is, we had talked about, getting political on stage or venting social frustrations on stage. Yeah. Was there anything that you received backlash over?
Sometimes folks disagree with me after the show. Usually not with any kind of strong vehemence or anything that I'm gonna lose sleep over. I think back to when I first started out in Chicago, I really wanted to make a statement and make my point on stage, and was trying to write almost these punk rock comedy songs. Which now I can laugh about, because again, it was just so earnest and that era again of Hillary Clinton feminism, right? Of we're gonna change everything. And now I've come to realize I don't know that I can really change anyone's mind with my comedy, but I can certainly give voice to things, maybe explore a different point of view people haven't considered. So I feel if I can at least get someone to think about something, I've succeeded. But real backlash, I don't know. I've gotten bad reviews overall for especially earlier sketch shows, and just starting out. But I don't know that any of my political materials I've gotten a few boos or maybe gross out things. I remember my Molly and I, my sketch partner in Chicago, we did this sketch where basically we took a man from the audience and took him into a gynecologist appointment and made him go through all these gynecological questions, and people would be so grossed out, and we're this is just what we as women and people with vaginas deal with all the time, so you're kind of making our point for us here. So more in that kind of that's gross, and me going that's life.
Right.
So
did you have would you say that was your biggest bomb on stage? Was that, or did you have a biggest bomb?
Oh, biggest bomb. Oh man. I think that sketch was actually pretty successful, even if it grossed some people out, which I'm okay with. No, I think my biggest bomb, there's this group of folks I worked with in Chicago. We called ourselves Unlikely Company, and I love them all to death. And we were all just like trying real hard and putting all our weird material out there. It was so supportive. We wrote this show called Toast. And it was my idea that we should have toasters at the front of the stage making toast before the audience walks in. I think there's a musical waitress where she makes pies. So there's like the scent of pie in the theater as you walk in. So I was really inspired. Like, oh, if it smells like toast. Oh. And we had this whole opening we devised that somehow turned into like a cult ritual. We were wearing animal masks and chanting toast. I don't even remember if there was a punchline or what it was, but we were in this theater and we should have rehearsed more. Here's the real lesson. So we had our animal masks on and we're coming down the stairs of this dark theater. And none of us can see a goddamn thing. So we're just like clinging onto the wall and hoping we don't fall over. We got through it, but that is just like crickets. Just crickets.
Did the toasters work?
The toasters did work, yes. And then we got yelled at by the theater administrators for stealing their lunchroom toaster. So sorry.
Well, if that was kind of your biggest bomb, what was your biggest success on stage to date?
Gosh, I really feel like this doom scroll song I sing in the algorithm, Good, the Bad, and the Algorithm is super successful. It feels like hitting all the things I want to say, and it's funny. And Emil helped out with like a visual component. Sasha Hudemarker, our musical director, helped out with the music as well. I play ukulele and sing. That feels like a great success. We also had a show in the Boom 30th anniversary festival that was just women and femme folks, only women on stage. And these, to me, are some of my favorite moments on stage. There's just a level of freedom and a level of, trust in each other that just goes through the roof. So, these moments also, because we get feedback afterwards of like, that was the best show I've ever seen at Boom.
Wow.
And it's like, well, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So those moments are always super special.
And you play a ukulele?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And a banjo?
Yeah. Banjo's back in Chicago, but yeah.
You play a banjo and a ukulele. And your parents wanted you to study for a more practical job?
That's it.
There's not a lot of practical banjo jobs out there?
You know, I could be Kermit the Frog, right? Come on. I could play.
How as a kid, I mean, did you get into banjo playing as a kid?
Yeah, so I think this was 8th grade, so I'm probably, 13?
Who picks up a banjo at 13?
This kid.
That's fantastic.
I truly tell people my banjo influences were Kermit the Frog and Steve Martin. I think Steve Martin's autobiography or memoir had come out at that time. And I never had a lesson. I should probably get a lesson. And then later have
his
gotten
autobiography is really good too for the readers out there. It's a really good book. Yeah.
I should probably I really recommend that. I should probably get a banjo lesson. But I think also like Ed Helms, who was on The Office, he also plays banjo. So I don't know. Just like I don't know why I couldn't just pick up a guitar. Like a more accessible, could do anything. No, I needed a funny instrument along with funny words.
Can't pick up a banjo here?
Probably could. Yeah, I think my friend Garrett has one. Yeah.
Yeah.
To see. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that's it. That's going to be my goal. Okay. I think for the year is to find you a banjo.
Okay, it's a deal. It's a deal.
Well, if people want to see the opposite of the introverted you, how do they find you?
Yeah,
where do they go?
Absolutely. I'm on Instagram at Griddle Cake Katie. You can see me at Boom Chicago, usually Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. Also the first Thursday of every month at Laugh Out Proud at Boom Chicago. We've got a great Irish comic coming up in November, Sinead Walsh. They're going to do their solo show. And then in December, I'm really excited. My friend Angela is putting together a big gay Christmas review a la the Cher show. So a big blowout variety show for Christmas time.
All right.
So.
Well, the clearly shy Katie
Yes.
Nixon, thank you so much for taking time out of your day and joining us.
Thanks,
It's
Zach.
really fantastic.
Thanks.
Dam Yankee is produced in partnership with NL Times, the top choice for English language news from the Netherlands. Founded nearly 15 years ago, NL Times is now the #1 site for information about this country, featuring more news stories every day of the week than any other website. Keep tabs on the latest top stories, features, and breaking news from across the entire country, including the 3 big cities, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and The Hague. So visit nltimes.nl now and find out what millions of people are reading about the Netherlands. Dam Yankee is an NL Times podcast. The show was created by me and Peach Rizzo, and this episode was produced and edited by Marcus Engel.